Hello YouTube, Shin Tiger Curl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you the next part in my countdown to Pirate Warriors 3 Let's Play. Last time we looked at Dracul Mihawk, the strongest swordsman in the world. Now we continue the trend as we look at another current member of the 7 Warlords of the Sea, Buggy the Clown. If you want to learn any more about One Piece, all the information here is provided from the One Piece wiki. So if you want to continue to look up more about the story, the characters, the places, events, and items of One Piece, just head over to One Piece wiki. Or if you just rather read or watch the anime, those are good options too. So with that, let's begin. Buggy the Star Clown is the captain of the Buggy Pirates, as well as the co-leader of the Buggy and Alvida Alliance, and a former apprentice of the Roger Pirates. He is the third antagonist in the series to fight Monkey D. Luffy, the first being Alvida, the second being Captain Axehand Morgan, but allied himself with him to break free from Impel Down. Shortly after the Battle of Marineford, he became a member of the 7 Warlords of the Sea and the leader of the Pirate Dispatch Organization. He is the main antagonist of the Orangetown arc and can be considered a secondary antagonist of the Logetown arc. He has since been a highly recurring character in the entire series. Personality. Buggy will often feign intelligence, only to have his true incompetence revealed. Although he is not stupid in the traditional sense, he is prone to gross misjudgments that cost him. Usually this is due to his overconfidence. In the original Japanese version of One Piece, he insists, quote, "Haide ni," literally meaning flashy, in almost every sentence he speaks, i.e., flashily die, you flashy bastard. His big red nose is something of a touchy subject with him, going so far as to destroy an entire town when a couple of kids made fun of his nose. Occasionally he will mishear what others say about him as an insult, or his nose, due to his own paranoia. He has a number of running gags in the series, including a delayed reaction towards things. He will at first act casual, but when it sinks in, he will act completely the opposite. For example, when Ace, who appeared on his ship, Buggy first greets him politely, and then when he realized he was on his ship, he blurts out, "Who the hell are you?" Sometimes he will even do the opposite of this and overreact the part and then become calm, having thought the situation through more deeply after his initial reaction. He also has some might consider dumb luck. No matter what happens to him, he is lucky enough to survive somehow, including being struck by lightning at Logetown, being chased by Smoker, being frozen alive by Admiral Aokichi, and inadvertently being slashed by Dracul Mihawk. Buggy is one of the few villains to become reformed after facing Luffy, although slightly. He also begins to accept people's kindness, though he will still be cruel to anyone who is not a member of his crew or is aiding him in his goals. He also is fun-loving and displays a huge fondness for parties, admiring those who are equally fun-loving. Strangely, he shares this trait with Shanks. He takes great joy in riding on the belief of others, and took great advantage of the cheering crowds of prisoners from Impel Down upon his escape, who were impressed by his history with Roger's crew as well as his connection with Shanks. He also has a strong love of treasure. Fortunately for him, his obsession with treasure has led him to leaving himself open in his first encounter with Luffy to attack Nami, who had attempted to take off with said treasure. And was just a small window the superior Luffy needed to defeat him. Buggy fails to understand how anything but gold, silver, or jewels can be considered treasure, an opinion which apparently has not changed in over 22 years, even though so far it has led him to constant failure. His primary goal is to get revenge against Luffy for defeating him, and Shanks for ruining his dreams in his youth. His dream is to become the Pirate King and own all the treasures in the world. After the escape from Impel Down with the encouragement of his followers, he sets his sights on defeating Whitebeard and conquering the Top. Many of those he has come to know previously, such as Luffy and Whitebeard, see him as very little threat at all. Another strange trait is that Buggy has a complete lack of fear towards swordsmen, no matter how powerful they may be, in contrast to his own cowardice against any other person stronger than him. This can be seen in such instances as his fight against Zoro and Mihawk. This is most likely a trait he habitually developed because of his devil fruit-based immunity to cutting and slashing attacks. Abilities and powers. While not as powerful as other former members of the Roger Pirates, Buggy is a fairly capable fighter who was strong enough to survive all the battles of the Whitebeard Pirates and the extreme dangers of the Grand Line. His arrogance and greed usually gets the best of him, preventing him from fighting at his fullest. While he was a considerable opponent at the beginning of the series, he's become a lesser threat as more powerful enemies showed up. Finally, in the Impel Down arc, the Baroque Work members commented how weak or how much of a coward Buggy actually is. However, he is still able to survive the ordeals that even the most powerful people can't, albeit with their help. One of the factors that assists Buggy in his exploits, at least during the escape in the Battle of Marine Ford, would be his extraordinary luck. His uncanny ability to read the mood, as well as his love of theatrics and saying lines at the precise moment to strengthen the morale of his crew, help him secure their loyalty in furthering his plans. In addition, due to their misconceptions of his selfish actions, i.e. running away out of fear as something to do with the death of Whitebeard and their short partnership, as well as catching Jinbei by accident but believing that it was his plan all along, many pirates have become extremely loyal to him. Most of the time, they were in tears from his quote-unquote heroics. Thus proven, perhaps Buggy's biggest weapon is his cunning, which he can when it comes to his speeches. The ability to easily lie and convince those around him to follow his biddings, the way to gathering a crew with great strength. Despite, or perhaps because of his achievements coming from sheer luck and misunderstandings, he was at least acknowledged by the world government as to be strong enough, either in strength or influence, to be a warlord. Physical strength. Buggy has very high endurance and resistance, since he survived an explosion from a redirected Muggy Ball with hardly any injuries, while a similar Muggy Ball severely injured a Minotauros, one of the jailer's beasts at Impel Down. He also possesses quite a great deal of physical strength, as he was able to lift up and choke one of his subordinates with one hand, lifting up a Blugori easily and slamming it to the ground, although it got back up with minimal injuries, and sustained the weight of both Luffy and Jinbei while floating with the upper part of his body. According to Shanks, he was also a great swimmer and proud of that fact, but this was before he ate a devil fruit and lost his ability to swim. Chemical expertise. If anything, Buggy can be at least seen as a formidable chemist. This is seen as he was able to create a cannonball with enough power to destroy a town, as well as making it small as a mothball, but just as destructive. Devil fruit. Buggy accidentally consumed the Bara Bara no Mi, or the Chop Chop fruit, a Paramecia-class devil fruit which allows him to separate his body parts and control them independently of each other, but robbed him of the ability to swim, which, according to Shanks, back when the two were still cabin boys on Roger's ship, he was excellent at. The abilities gained from this fruit also make Buggy immune to slashing, cutting, or cleaving attacks. Any such attacks would just separate him into his component parts, allowing him to reform as needed. In addition, most of his body is capable of flying through the air with enough force to send a man through a wall, with the critical exception of his feet having to stay on the ground. Even though his parts are separated, Buggy can still feel what the parts feel, i.e. when Luffy attacked Buggy, he separated his torso from his waist, only to find that Luffy was aiming for his crotch. Needless to say, this left him in a rather painful result. Also, when Buggy used his Chop Chop Festival in an attempt to take down Nami, Luffy took one of his feet and tickled it, causing Buggy to break down in a fit of laughter. No matter how much of his body separates, something always seems to act normal, i.e. his feet walking as normal, while Buggy sends the rest of his body flying. Though Buggy is a strong fighter and his devil fruit power makes him almost invincible, he is constantly leaving himself open in the latter half of his match for Luffy due to his distractions, resulting in many careless mistakes. A weakness of his fruit is if a component is restricted, he cannot use that component part, shown as when Nami used when she restrained a part of his body in their first fight with him. Because he is invulnerable to cutting attacks, he could easily be considered the natural enemy to even the most powerful of swordsmen, as seen when he easily survived Mihawk's extremely powerful slashing ability. There are two major weaknesses to his Devil Fruit. The first is the fact that his feet act as an anchor and must remain on the ground even when the rest of his body is airborne. Secondly, despite feeling them at all times, Buggy may lose pieces of his body if they leave his visual range, though once he can see them again, he can easily guide them back. Weapons. Buggy seems to have preferred bladed weapons, though he mostly favors the use of knives. He tends to hold one single knife at a time, or 3 between each of his fingers, and can draw them whenever necessary. Buggy seems to carry an impressive amount of these types of weapons on his person at all times, some of which he prefers to keep hidden in his gloves or in his shoes. He throws his legs spinning in an attempt to cut his opponent. He's also seen using a sword in a failed attempt to cut Luffy's head off at Logtown. While in Impel Down, he also initially wielded a battle axe taken from one of the Blue Gory guards, but after losing it, armed himself with 4 katana-like weapons and a gun used by the prison staff. Buggy balls and Muggy balls. Outside of blades, he can also be seen using, or threatening to use, his Buggy balls, which are highly explosive cannonballs carrying his Jolly Roger on them and can be fired from a cannon. The Buggy balls are able to clear entire streets consisting of buildings. In fact, he's one of the few pirates who actively uses cannons. In addition, he has hidden Muggy balls, hand grenade-like weapons derived from his Buggy balls, on himself, which, while decreased in size, still retain the mighty explosive powers of regular Buggy balls. Up until now, he has only used them 4 times. First against the Minotauro's prison guards, second against Hannibel's subordinates. In the manga, this usage was unseen, but it was shown in the anime. Third against Dracul Mihawk, who redirected it towards Buggy, and fourth in the 3D 2Y series. Due to these weapons' small size, Buggy is able to keep them on himself while being in Impel Down without the guards discovering and confiscating them. And that is Buggy the Clown's bio, a little under 12 minutes. These are much shorter than the other ones, but they've been doing their job. I hope you're enjoying them. So that was Buggy's profile. Tune in next time when we profile the next of the 7 warlords, the first pirate to hand Luffy 2 consecutive losses, Mr. Zero, Sir Crocodile. If you like what you've heard, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions or comments? Just give a nice decapitated hand print to that nice like button, or click on one of the advertisements around here. They really do help. If you want to support the channel directly, there's a tip jar up there. Drop something in the bucket. I really don't mind. So, until next time, it's been Shin Tiger Curl saying good day, and look at videos flashily, you flashy bastard.